Welcome to the Boldcastify Football Show, episode 18.
Sunday night. I think it may be 4:25 or 7 p.m. I'm not sure.
Which game is this?
The Lions versus
The Packers.
That's
for the division.
That's for the division. That would be hilarious. But if Washington loses, which Washington is in this funk right now, which is very possible both of them can make it to the playoffs.
If Washington loses, then the Packers and the Lions just need to tie and they both go.
That's confusing.
Well,
I saw something for Tampa. Tampa needs like a miracle, Hail Marys, like a chicken.
Tampa's not going.
Like a church's chicken in Tallahassee to catch fire. They need like 12 things to happen.
I have to ask, why does it have to be Church's? What if it's a Kentucky?
Maybe in Kentucky. I don't care.
Well,
name
it's
one.
good. That's the problem.
And it won't be done in Castro or Motor.
What they need is Jameis Winston to be as good as people say he is. Every time I watch Jameis Winston live,
it is a fact. I watched that game.
It is not great.
I watched that last game with.
Well, the last couple of times he's not been playing well.
But I mean, he does.
They had a 5-6 game winning streak and they hit a wall, which it's a young team. It's going to happen. But I looked at their playoff scenario, and they need like 6 teams to win or lose, however you want it. And then obviously they need to beat their opponent.
Probably as like elaborate as whatever got the Jaguars in the playoffs in '96.
Probably. Oh yeah, they also need some team to tie, so they're really screwed.
Yeah. Which I mean, this year the odds of tying have definitely
gone up. That's true.
Because I think there's been 3 ties this year, but which is
Speaking
crazy.
of shitty teams to tie, I heard Marvin Lewis is not getting
crazy. I think that guy is utter trash. As you guys may have heard on previous podcasts from me, I placate. A lot of placating. That guy is utter trash.
They got
I thought you were a big supporter of Marvin Lewis.
Totally a big supporter of Marvin Lewis.
They got Jack Del Rio syndrome.
As average as a day is long. If you like going to the playoffs for 5 years in a row or 4 years in a row, I think it might be 5. Might have been 5 up until this year. They're not going to the playoffs. But if you like going to the playoffs for 5 years in a row and losing in the first round, be a Bengals fan.
That sounds about right.
He's captain one and done.
He is horrible.
No, he's horrible in the playoffs. He's 0-7 in the playoffs, I believe.
God, but he's never won a single game in the playoffs?
No.
Not once.
He can get you there, but that's about it.
Okay.
Because the Bengals themselves have not won a playoff game since beating the Houston Oilers. The Houston Oilers in 1990.
That's been a minute.
That was 92.
Pretty sure it was 90.
It was a long time ago.
Obviously,
it's been a minute. So it's been a minute, which is money that they're keeping. Because there was rumor, I guess maybe yesterday or today, I'm not sure, but there was a rumor that he was possibly going to retire, and he said, "No, I'm not retiring. I'm staying the coach."
Retire?
Yeah.
He's got to win a playoff game first.
I know, right? You would think.
He's got to cough into his 70s like Tom Coughlin.
Or just play Madden on easy is probably about as close as
Speaking of Tom Coughlin,
that's what we're moving into now is coaching.
Interviewed twice.
Yes. Wednesday night and today, because today is Thursday while we're doing this.
Rumored to have interviewed Wednesday.
Rumored, but there's a lot of
without Dave Caldwell.
Substantial juice to that one.
Yeah.
With Shad and Tony on Wednesday night, and supposedly there's even talk that they went to Ruth Chris together.
I know, we saw him at the stadium.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've actually warmed up to the idea, regardless. I have my reservations about him. I've actually warmed up to the idea. But
how can you not?
Yeah,
because
it's TC, man.
It's Grandpa Tom.
Because he's Grandpa Tom. Grandpa Toms are never the original Tom. Like, okay, hypothetical situation.
He's older and wiser.
Older and slower.
Well, he's slower because he's got to carry on those 2 Super Bowl trophies.
Yeah,
and those 2 Super Bowl rings, he's like,
so
he just drops them on the table. That's what he did when he went to talk to Tony. He had one to drop in front of Shad and one to drop in front of Tony.
But
Clink, clink.
I tweeted at quite a few fellow Jaguar fans, and I said, I feel like it's their 90s self wanting Tom.
Oh, well, we are constantly trying to live the nostalgia of the 90s as
so,
Jaguar fans.
So, yes, because
when he was here, that was the best time we ever had.
But we ran him out. We ran him out the first time. You see what I'm saying? So I have to. You got to see where I'm coming from, though. I'm coming from the 2004, 2003 era.
See, I'm coming from a different time. The world was just a better place.
Yeah, it was.
That's
obviously
the best we were.
Obviously,
Radio Rock meant like Smashing Pumpkins and Foo Fighters.
Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins and Foo Fighters were definitely better
The
than
shotgun blast before a Nirvana song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
was a good time in life.
So you guys got to see where I'm coming from too, on the simple fact that Tom, yes, he has one. That there's no, I don't think any of us are disputing that. Heck, I love the team. I would be a New York Giants fan just because of the team they beat in the Super Bowl, because I can't stand that other team.
That's true. The other
The
team.
Super Bowl, man. It's one of the best Super Bowls ever.
Yeah,
The Tyree catch.
Helmet catch.
yes.
Oh my goodness.
But, so, I mean, is it a head coaching job? I don't know. Is it a front office job? I don't know.
I still don't think it's a great idea. But I am all on board for this bad idea. Give me that. I'll do it.
Well, it's
My
not.
thing
it's,
is, it gives credibility back to the team.
Well, how much credibility though? Because let's be honest. Okay, the last 3 years that he was with the New York Giants, they weren't very good. And you're going to tell me that they didn't want to spend money until they fired Tom? That doesn't make sense.
Now all of a sudden they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they spent money. They decided to spend money. That's
That
on the
point, you know. So for 3 years, Tom's knocking at the general manager's door. Hey, buddy, can we spend some more money? Hey, buddy, can we spend some more money? Hey, buddy, can we spend some more money?
But supposedly they didn't get along either.
Well, that's a common thing with Tom, is that a lot of
Well,
people.
yeah, but Tom's always been one. He always likes control.
I think it's unfair.
He had control when he had here.
I think it's unfair both ways, because I saw somebody tweet out today like the Giants under his last couple years went 9-7, 7-9, 6-10. Now they're a playoff team. What changed? Kind of insinuating that the only thing that changed was coaching.
I know.
And then some people are.
If that's really how it went down,
They probably just needed a change in the organization. Honestly,
12
years. Yeah. So
I mean, sometimes you get.
which, like I said, I'm neither here nor there. The only thing I do worry about is his future coaching prospect underneath him. Like, I want to know that guy is genius.
Oh,
No, that's what I said. I mean, I said initially when we first talked about this last week or the week before, he needs to bring, if he is the one, he needs to bring in a very bright protege, like a Sean McVay from Washington, someone who's young, very bright, someone you know that can do the job beneath him.
And that's what's tough. I mean, that's what McAdoo is. He was one of
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys he would bring for his coaching staff
But even
are all
McAdoo,
still in New York. That's the weirdest thing about the Giants. That coaching
They did
staff
not
is
fire anyone
all-
from
almost
last
exactly
year.
the same.
right?
I think they only added.
That's fine. But I mean, even McAdoo wasn't part of his staff very long. He was only part of his staff for a couple of years
Well, what I'm saying
because
is
they replaced him when Kelvin Gilbert retired.
the pieces that he would probably bring along are still in New York.
Right, I understand.
A lot
Not
of
a
them.
successful team.
No,
I mean,
but scattered throughout the league.
yes, just because of the longevity. But I think we can all agree here. Go for it. You know,
It's full circle.
It can't be any worse.
He is
than-
still
than-
gives you more credibility than any other coach you've had since he's been here.
And according to Jason Lock-and-Ford, we've only got until 2021. So
Yeah.
we need to get this moving before we move to LA or London or wherever the Jason Lock-and-Ford thinks we're going to move.
Yeah,
Yes, because obviously spending $190 million total on goddamn improvements doesn't mean shit.
pretty much.
Yeah, my nostalgia is through the roof, and it's like my brain keeps saying it's a bad idea. It's not a great idea. There's better coaching options. There are better coaching options. Let's be real. You want to catch a guy who's on the other side of 70.
No, I will agree.
You know, you want to get the best out of that coach, and I would say that you have a better chance of getting that out of, like, you know, the hot name right now is Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, Jim Bob Cooter, even Mike Smith down in Tampa.
And even I'm not even sure about Jim Bob Cooter right now.
Jim Bob Cooter's going to be the next coach of the Jaguars.
That'll be hilarious.
He sounds nice, but he's only been doing it for like a year and a half.
Yeah, what's the defensive guy up there in Patriotville?
Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia. I've heard his name. We've all talked about Mike Smith and Tampa Bay, which, I mean...
If it's a defensive-minded coach, it's Smitty.
Yeah, Smitty would definitely be the safe option here if he's coming in.
Okay, but we need do we need safe or do we need great? That's my point.
Well,
You could be a little bit of both. You never know.
I would
You just
argue
go to
for
the lineup.
safe because I look at what the Chiefs did,
Yeah.
and they went safe. You know, they brought in a coach that's never won a Super Bowl, but has been consistently good.
Yep.
And then they brought in a quarterback who is
Consistent.
good enough. You know,
Yep.
and we made fun of them for bringing in Alex Smith because they were just like asking for mediocre. But guess what? They're a playoff team.
And they have been. I think the entire time
Except that first year, I think.
You got a chance. Anytime you make it to the playoffs, you got a chance.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yep, you catch fire.
I remember
Get in
an
there.
incomplete Jaguar team going toe to toe with the 16-0 Patriots
Yep.
because they got hot at the right time. I remember a very not complete Baltimore Ravens team getting hot at the right time and winning a Super Bowl.
Yep.
So I mean, like just getting there gives you the chance.
That's all it takes. Del Rio said himself. All you guys get into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what can happen.
And Chiefs are getting there, and we're not.
You get the experienced coach, which I definitely believe we need this time around, which we haven't had the last few times. We need
More
an experienced
ever.
coach.
All right.
No, we really
So,
haven't.
The
so
only
quick
experienced
question.
coach we ever had was Mike Mularkey, and he
That was
wasn't,
for like a year.
wasn't great
He was real
experience.
Yeah.
No, he. I think he was the last winning head coach up in Buffalo, and then we got the last winning.
No, he never.
He
won
didn't
season
only
up there.
ever won in Buffalo.
Oh.
Like 8-8 maybe.
Okay, 500 season or something.
That's
I don't
pretty
know.
good for Buffalo.
Yeah.
And
Jeff
now,
Marone's the last one to have a
That'd
winning
be pretty
record.
good for Jacksonville.
Yeah. that
yeah,
would be right
but
now.
I guess to bring this back to full circle is what should some of the requirements be? You think to be a head coach? Do they have to have a Super Bowl win? Do they have to have a?
I won't say no. They don't have to have a
Do
Super
they
Bowl.
have to go? Do they have to have been to the dance, or can they go to like the I don't know, put on cue dance?
Proven success.
Yeah. Simple as that. Proven success.
Mike Smith made the Falcons a perennial playoff team.
They went to the playoffs consecutively, which the Falcons at that point had never done.
Since the 60s, the Falcons did not have back-to-back. They went to the Super Bowl, and they
Yeah.
didn't have back-to-backs. It's insane. So, you know, that would be proven success to
And
me.
he's 30 games over 500.
Yeah, I mean, like, sustained success, you know?
So, are any of the Patriots coaches off limit? Because that tree is kind of burnt to
Yeah, I mean, the
oblivion.
best coach you have in the Patriot tree is in Alabama. And that's not even on the Patriot tree. That's just the Belichick tree.
I don't think Bill O'Brien's a bad coach at all.
No,
I think he's pretty close.
he's so far is doing all right. He's starting to kind of not muddy that whole tree up.
Yeah, he honestly, if he had any kind of talent at quarterback, they would be the runaway for the division.
Yeah.
They're gonna win the division, but they're not runaways with it. I mean,
No.
they
It'll be
didn't-
interesting to see what Josh McDaniels does with the second time around.
Yeah, because he's getting hired this year. They've pretty much already put a lock on him.
Boy, the hype around Josh McDaniels is
Yeah, that's
powerful.
phenomenal. It is. He's been connected to every job out there,
Yeah, too
but
good for Jacksonville.
especially here in LA. He's been connected to both of those.
Well, they're the first open jobs.
Right, but
That's
I mean,
the only reason why.
What
but, I
about
mean,
the
they're
Bills?
really pushing him.
He's probably above the Bills,
Yeah.
which is why he's above the Jaguars. The
I thought-
national narrative right now is that he has the pick of any job he wants.
Right.
And I really couldn't argue that because at this point the offense is, and most of the teams this year have been fairly subpar.
Yeah.
At least the aerial attacks on most of them.
I mean, mostly New England's your most consistent team. One of them.
I mean,
And the creativity that he's brought to the New England offense will always be discounted because they have Tom Brady.
Right.
But the fact that, he's
But even they got
Yeah,
more
it's
stable
true.
a little bit when he went back there.
he's been instrumental in the longevity of Tom Brady.
yeah, he
They're not
definitely
a
has.
down the field attacking offense so much anymore, but they're still very successful.
I think how many balls travel past 20 yards for Tom Brady?
They don't need it.
I mean, it's so minimal. It's so minimal that it doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. But they've managed to make it work. But I mean, there's a number of factors playing into it. But
I mean-
we can spend an hour with New England, but we don't want to.
No.
But I think a second time around, similar to Todd Haley. Todd Haley has done very well with Pittsburgh.
And we can both
And you know that one.
recall
He's got a lot of that.
earlier this year, like Todd Haley was looking like, "See you later." Pittsburgh was like, "See you later, bud. Don't let the door hit you in your butt."
Oh yeah, because they were like on a 3-4 game skid.
Yeah,
They got waxed by Miami.
and
Well, I know when he first came there, because he was replacing Bruce Arians, right?
Yes.
So Bruce Arians left for Arizona. Todd Haley came in. I know he was butting heads with Roethlisberger, pretty serious, and they didn't see eye to eye for a while. And then the offense started clicking in a big way, and then Ben Roethlisberger jumped into like the biggest numbers of his career.
Right.
So that's the selling point for Todd Haley.
Yeah.
The negative is he was really headstrong in Kansas City and stubborn. And that's a big reason why he got fired. And he comes to Pittsburgh, and he's so headstrong that he's about to get like in a battle with their franchise quarterback. Like the selling point for McDaniels that I constantly hear with no proof of is that he's learned from his mistakes. I feel like we have evidence that Todd Haley hasn't necessarily learned from his mistakes. He is a UNF grad.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a local tie.
I would be down with Todd Haley, to be honest. I think
He was part of that passing offense, I think, with Kurt Warner when they went to the Super Bowl, I believe. I know he was in Arizona.
There are definitely some pluses. There are definitely some, but as pointed out by 1010 XL, Tom Coughlin is the best resume.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's obvious. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't need a genius to tell you that.
Well, no, what they were saying is the coaches that have coached that are still in. He basically what they were saying is you don't fire a good coach.
Well, yeah, I mean, Belichick's not going to be on the market anytime soon.
And neither is Dingbat up there in Washington. Neither is the guy up there in Michiganville.
Pete Carroll.
Oh, okay. Pete Carroll. Gotcha.
Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
And that's pretty telling that to name 3 great coaches, you had to go to the college ranks to name 3. Because, I mean, how many great coaches are there in the NFL right now?
Yeah, that's really debatable.
And,
That's the thing. I mean,
and one has to wonder... sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You see more hunting of the college coaches.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I still think David Shaw's eventually going to make that jump.
And one has to...
One I really like.
One has to always speculate. I don't personally like him here because I think he's too crazy. Is the Alabama head coach? One has to personally think that at some point he's going to want to jump. He's done everything except for winning the majors.
Yeah.
Well, I think he went through the same thing Pete Carroll went through, where he realized he didn't have a whole lot of control. And then you go to college and you have all the control.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, you would have to lure him out the same way you lured out Pete Carroll, where he had a lot more control.
Okay. So it's not necessarily about money.
No, it's not really about money because he was negotiating with Indianapolis at one point with control.
Oh, so
He didn't want to give it up. Grigson or whoever was up there, Polian, I think actually.
Okay.
He didn't want to get. They couldn't make an agreement there, and they were making a negotiation before they hired McAdoo.
I like to dump on Nick Saban,
And-
but I think that he would be successful his second time around.
I think he would too.
but
If he's going to do it, he's got to do it soon.
yeah, I think he's like 67 years old or something like that.
65, 66, somewhere in there, but yeah, close.
He's part of the Belichick coaching tree
Yes.
that I think would be really successful. If
He's one of the earliest parts.
Yeah.
He was the defensive coordinator.
But I mean, to take it back down, and I guess kind of wind up this coaching mumbo jumbo that we've been talking about, is anything is better. I mean, I think we can all agree on that.
No,
Not anything.
I do not agree with that because I agreed with that once. I agreed that we could probably do better than Mike Mularkey by just doing anything.
No, you're absolutely correct. We didn't. You're right.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's why I'm fully in the camp of wanting a proven head coach. And
Yeah, proven, yes.
And to add to the thing, apparently the team hired Korn Ferry, a leader of a developmental firm. Find a coach.
Find one.
So I don't know what that means and where that will lead, but basically, I guess if we find a bad coach, the blame can fall on them. Who knows?
Blame Corn.
Yeah, blame Korn. Now, what do you think about Doug Marone? What's y'all's perspective after? I mean, it's one game.
It's one game, and here's the
Are
thing.
you talking about St. Doug?
St. Doug.
Yeah, and
But he is 16 and 17 as a head coach.
Do you know the St. Doug story?
No.
He started referring to himself as St. Doug because he got a winning record in Buffalo, and because he was successful at University of Syracuse. So he said, like, to gain sainthood, you have to have at least 2 miracles. So, call me St. Doug.
All right.
Because I won in Buffalo and I won in Syracuse. He called himself St. Doug.
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy. I like
That
it.
is a power move.
I like it.
It's trippy.
But here's the short end. Yes, he might be a candidate. He's not gonna get the job.
Yeah.
And
He got robbed.
Yeah, and it's only because he will be forever associated with the shit that we've got to see for the past 4 years.
I don't think that they can get away with hiring anybody from the Gus Bradley coaching staff. I think you got to get that stink off the best you can.
Now, you don't think there's any way of hiring him if you make Coughlin the VP of football operations?
Coughlin's name associated makes most things sound.
From what I've understood, and this is something I've understood through a couple people, that they have a relationship around.
Yeah, they do.
Coughlin.
They do.
Yeah.
He was asked about it.
Okay.
And they get along. So if something was in that kind of capacity, could that? And they're both more disciplinarian types than what obviously Gus was.
Honestly, I don't see it because I don't think he's gonna get a fair shot.
Well, he got robbed of it because the last time we played Tennessee, that should have been when he became the coach.
100%.
Yeah. After we didn't show up in Nashville, we got embarrassed on national television. That should have been it.
Yeah.
Shad was there to see that one live. Clearly
I don't
not happy.
understand how. Oh, yeah, he was clearly not happy.
Oh, because they had a coordinator sacrifice. That's why.
But that's just embarrassing. That makes me question Shad sometimes. It really does. How do you not make the decision there?
Because I think Shad wants more than anything for Jacksonville to be viewed as
A stability.
a franchise of stability.
Well,
Because the teams that are constantly switching out coaches and stuff, they are typically the ones that are really bad. How often do the Steelers change their coach? How often do the Patriots change their coach? That's the way he looks at things.
right, understandable. But obviously, firing the coach before he gets on the plane isn't very.
That's just awkward.
Well, supposedly, I don't know how true it was. It didn't really play out. He was actually asked if he wanted to go on that plane. He said yes.
I understand that, but the way it still got out in the media,
That's one way to
it's not
frame it
a
up.
great presentation. You see
Sure,
what I'm
that's
saying?
one way to frame it up. The other way to frame it up is he gave Gus Bradley way
too long.
Way more.
I understand that. I'm saying the way it looks on the media.
I
is
don't
what I'm saying.
care. I don't care. He's gone. The media is always going to be the media. The media is always going to find their own angle that suits them.
But you have different people that look at that perspective like, okay, he was
No
fired
coach, no coach is going to look at that and go, "Oh God, I don't want to take that job."
They're
One
only
of
going to be
32.
4 years of the worst record in football
Yeah,
history.
come on. I mean,
And the perception of the national media after he got fired
was
compared to the local media
Gus
just
is still
weird.
a good guy.
Basically, what it's starting to work out to, which is what I expected, was like, Gus Bradley's great. Jacksonville kind of ruined him.
Yeah, I even heard that.
You can hear the tone in the national media.
So
that's where it's going.
and-
If he'd be successful somewhere besides Jacksonville.
So oddly enough, because we're like the lowest low NFL team, it would not surprise me if in the next 10 years that Joker's back to head coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Even though he put us through purgatory.
We were already in purgatory.
No, he put us in purgatory. He kept us there.
We were already there. We were well already in purgatory.
Yeah, we just went a couple levels down.
Yeah. We just shifted around where we're at.
Yeah, you got to remember 2009.
I don't want to. Thanks for joining us. Follow us on Boldcastify, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and any other social media platform you can think of. Have a great evening, and good night. Live bold, think bold, Boldcastify.